Okay, so today we're gonna work on the concept of expansion and how we in our lives have the ability to explore the concept of containment and expansion in general. What a lot of us struggle with when we think about expansion and containment is there's this deep need for containment, right? Like it's the beginning of the week and we're like in a place where like, okay, I want to organize, I want to get things done, I want everything to be contained. And then we kind of get into this space where, one second here, we get into this space where we finally get everything organized. And then what happens is we struggle to maintain that throughout the week. And we find that things kind of get like unorganized and out of context, and it turns into this experience where instead of everything staying in its place, it starts to move, and then we find ourselves without the ability to expand into other things in our lives. So when we think of expansion in general, I'm just going to start with a definition. Expansion is about growth, new experiences, learning and stepping outside your comfort zone, right? And then we have containment, which is about stability, holding space for what matters, and maintaining balance. So true fulfillment in life is expansion that comes from the base and foundation of this groundedness and nourishment on top of it. In a good explanation of this is what I always say is it's as simple as the analogy of being able to walk on thin ice, right? Holding all your valuables. If you're walking on this thin ice, if your valuables and the things you value are heavy, right? You have this high chance of the ice cracking and everything falling in. All your valuables falling in. You risk losing everything, and to repair that damage is extensive. And besides for repairing that damage being extensive, starting all over again is exhausting. When we think of containment, right? Containment is what I explain in the basic form of making sure the nervous system is contained, right? If the nervous system and our body is in a place where it can sustain the pressure, which is like the stresses of life, that balance is like creating a thick layer of ice. Where you have a thicker layer of ice, you're able to add and apply more pressure, which would be the expansion. The thing is that for a lot of people, we neglect, and again, I am guilty of this too, neglect that warning sign of being like, okay, if the basics aren't contained, then we can't expand, right? We can't do this expansion, and we think that we could expand even though we don't have the nervous system, right? Or that thick layer of ice, that's thick skin to be able to handle it or apply that pressure. So it's the same thing with weights, right? Same kind of thing. When we're in a place where we're lifting weights, then you have to build towards your goal. It's much harder to do it all at once. So there's a few things here that are really important to really consider as you move into this space. Number one is looking at your top 3 priorities in life. So it's really important to know what is the most important thing in life. So I always say, consider one of those important things as taking care of yourself and your body. And people say, I hate taking so much care of myself. I hate this self-centeredness. And the thing they forget or neglect is to realize is that if you do not take that time to dedicate to build the container, you're not going to be able to expand into anything in life, because everything will collapse on itself if the base is not strong enough to withstand anything. So when we think about our first three priorities, taking care of yourself is really important. The next one is that to consider, and this is, again, everybody is in a different place in life, is relationships. When we're looking for meaning in life, our relationships are a really important part, meaning that it depends. If it could be relationships with your parents, with siblings, with a spouse, with friends, whatever or relationship even with work. The thing you want to ask yourself in the relationships that you're building is about the give and take. We all find a lot of meaning in relationships. That is a huge one when it comes to connecting and getting us going and connecting us to our meaning. Relationships kind of make it worth it. So you can get to the line of success, but if you have nobody to celebrate it with, that's really a challenge. So making sure that the relationships, right? One of those priorities can be relationship. Notice what those relationships are in your life. Are they time wasters? Are they quality relationships? Do they help you move forward in life? Are they there as a support? Or are they there leaning on the nervous system, right? Where they kind of take rather than give. And something to consider also is that in life, there's always a balance, meaning that there's sometimes we are in a position where we are taking and receiving, and sometimes we're in the relationship and we're in the part that's giving. So it's just noticing where that is, where you are in that fluctuation, because at all times it's never even. It's never like the person you're giving is going to be giving you something. You're not going to be getting and giving in a similar manner, but knowing that when you do get what you get, and you receive, that it is sustainable and worth it to you. So yourself, relationships, and the third one is something that's really important to consider. And again, you can choose in those spaces, like micro details of what else can be on your priority list. But the third one is thinking about learning. Learning in general is, for so many of us, we will do things we have to do, and we will also do things that we get paid to do. One thing in life that we don't get paid to do is learn and educate ourselves. And this is like such a key component to getting anywhere in life and being able to get farther in life, is noticing where are you in a position where you are learning something new, meaning something that you can apply to your daily life, because learning is not just consuming information, it's about taking those techniques and being able to apply it to the day-to-day life. So those are three really important things. If any of you are in a position where you're not sure what to prioritize, that's a really great piece. The second thing is and then you can, from there, you can kind of do a month, a year priority list, a week, a month, a week, whatever it is that comes to you, or even in the day, kind of just seeing what those three priorities are to help you with that. Because when you have that container, then you're able to expand and do so much more. So then another thing is right. So asking yourself also, where in my life am I ready to grow? For a lot of us, we get to a place in life where life becomes normal, right? And then we kind of start getting bored and things come in lulls. So it could be like we have everything very organized. And then we're like, okay, I think I could take on another project, right? And the thing you want to ask yourself, and this is something really, this is the next segment of threes, is that realistically in a day, you can technically only do three things. And when I say that, I mean to move the needle forward in your day. So our nervous system and our brain power can only focus on three tasks in a day. Now, as women, for sure, we do like a million other things. But when we're trying to move the needle forward, it's really important to know that you kind of get three, like those focus windows and focus like pockets. So outside of like the basics of like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of tidying. I'm going to, you know, just like little things around the house. When we're kind of taking something on, it's technically three pockets. And this is also if you do get up early or go to bed late. So sometimes that early pocket could start early in the morning, like about 5 or 6. But if you're somebody that wakes up at 7 or 8 o'clock or later, you're technically going to have 2 of those pockets unless you go to bed at like 2 in the morning. And here's what I mean. So for some of us, we work day jobs, right? And when you're working a day job, that usually will, depending if it's a half day or a full day. If you're working a full day, that's usually going to occupy 2 of those pockets, right? Because a focus point is usually anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, uninterrupted, right? So when we are working a day job or when we are committing to specific tasks in life, that really eliminates the ability to move ahead when it comes to certain things. And that could be something like, for example, organizing the house or educating ourselves to move forward in life or enhancing our relationships or moving the needle on our relationships. And the thing is this is something always that's really, really important to remember, that it doesn't matter if you're in a personal relationship or you're not. If you're not in one and you want to be in one, there has to be it has to be something that's like physically worked towards. And if you are in a relationship, it's taking the energy and time to move that needle forward when it comes to like maintaining the relationship. Because a lot of times when we'll take some time and we'll be like, oh, okay, I'm in a relationship, so that's fine. And this could even be with when you have a personal partner or even with friends or family or anything. It's really important to take that time, and for that time you need energy. So that energy component, when we talk about those pockets of energy, like cleaning a specific space in your house, organizing that, dealing with bills, whatever it is, you need enough headspace for that. And it's really emotional energy versus time. Because for a lot of us, we have a lot of time. It's just that we don't have the emotional ability. So when it comes to that, it's also the next 3 that we look at is elimination, right? We look at our schedule and we look at the things that we could eliminate, we can delegate, and we can automate. And that's also really important to pay attention to. What in your day can you optimize? Because what that does is it frees up the pocket of time that you need to be able to advance in the area that you need. So just knowing the value of your time is important. Now the next component is something I did share in the memo. Was like thinking about like when we have this like fantasy of when they're, even if there's like children around, right? And we're like, okay, I'm gonna create an environment where I'm gonna get containers for everything, and then everything is going to stay nice and organized. The reality of that is that when you have, let's say, something like, and I'm just gonna give an example with boys, but you can kind of expand this into anything else that you want to. So for example, boys are very active, right? And you don't want to compress, or suppress their curiosity and their adventure. What you want to do is create a space where they can really flourish in that space. Now, that doesn't mean that you could just let them do what they want, how they want. It's about creating a controlled environment, but not eliminating things. An environment that has life in it is full of life. There are things happening. There's this ability to expand, right? So the thing is that for a lot of us, we kind of conflate this part of it where we want things that are supposed to be expansive to be compressed, and then the stuff that's really supposed to be compressed, we kind of have this loose narrative around our health, our nutrition, our sleep time. We're like, it's fine, I won't take it so seriously. So coming back to the expansion component, when we want to be able to build, we have to make sure that we have that consistency and that foundation down. So okay, so the next question that I have here is, what do I want to hold onto and protect as I expand? So this is also a really important one to know, is that sometimes when we're exploring this sense of expansion, one second, oh, thank you. When we're exploring this sense of expansion, what happens is that we sometimes feel like we have to give something up. So it's just noticing in your life, sometimes we have some bad habits. And sometimes it's the habits that keep us from really being able to move forward. So to be able to get something, sometimes you have to give up something. And that really goes back into that thing of really knowing that when you really, and you can time this, you can do this as an exercise for yourself. Like, how many things can you do really, really well in a day? And you'll see that when it comes to productivity, it's usually 3 big tasks. So when we ask ourselves, what do we want to protect? Ask yourself, what are you holding on to if you're ready to let go of certain things to be able to advance yourself and expand on that area? The next question is really good also, is like, where do I need more space for myself? So to be able to expand, there has to be a sense of accountability. Just give me a second. There has to be a sense of accountability. Thank you. Accountability in the aspect of, like, you're going to need to take care of yourself, right? So that's the containment part. The next component is, what are small steps I could take today to expand with ease? So sometimes when we think of the things we want to achieve in life, we run into this place where we begin to struggle, and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's too big. It's too big. But the thing is like this, when we think about life in itself and we think about expansion, sometimes it's not just like some kind of illusion. There's a genuine satisfaction that comes from that place. And there's these old programmed thoughts that are like, I can't do this. It's not for me. It's too much to handle. But the thing is that there's the day-to-day, there's showing up day-to-day, and knowing that with everything there's risk. But if you're a responsible person and you have the container intact, which is the body, the nervous system intact, you will be able to make better decisions. Because when our body is in a good place and our nervous system's in place, our cortisol level is lowered. And what happens is we have this ability to expand. Our vision is expansive. When our nervous system is on like in fight or flight, what happens is I've talked about this in Interior Designer. You will notice that you'll begin to have some memory loss. Because what happens is you begin to zero in very closely on the actual problem rather than being able to see the entire picture. So you lose details, and then usually in those cases, we make bad decisions. partially because we're not within that position. We're not able to take in all the details. So when we have that maintenance done, then we're in this space where we have that consistency on a whole nother level. So that is like the basic component of this. Give me 1 second. I had another note or two that I wanted to share on that. 1 second. Okay. Okay. So the thing is like this: when you're exploring this just on a practical level, the thing is like in my life, the times that I've been able to successfully do a lot of things and kind of have that amount of I'd say pressure, I was also taking really good care of myself. So it's just knowing that there's no shortcuts to things. With everything, it's really important to kind of get to know all the details and prepare yourself. So, but when we don't have the shortcuts, we're also not going to have any damage control to deal with later. And that's outside of there's also the siyata dishmaya that comes with things where, certain things are inevitable and that we can't control. But what we can do is if we show up as our best and we're constantly making decisions for the longevity, right? What happens is we usually will succeed. And then also it's not short term. Whatever it is, any skills that we've accumulated and acquired are going to be able to be used in whatever we do next as well. But the beauty is that we're going to then be able to adapt, because we're not going to have this kind of sense of emotional attachment. When we kind of take the shortcuts, a lot of times we're neglecting the things that we're feeling, or we're feeding into an old habit or escape. And when we kind of are completely transparent with ourselves and we just show up the best we can and we're ready to kind of take some risk, right? Obviously safe and calculated risk, by putting in the effort and the work, there's a lot of satisfaction that is there. And then we're able to appreciate it on a whole nother level. So with that, I'm going to bring it to a close. I am open to taking any questions that you have on this topic, and we'll take it from there. And also the newsletter is going to go out today on this topic as well. It might have a little bit more detail, so so you'll get it in writing as well. So feel free to sign up for that, because that goes out on a weekly basis.